priority as well here as we head through the picks and bans. As you said, 6.3 is still the same. Expecting the Gragas. Not too much has changed. I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of presence here on the Nidalee, because that is a champion that in both of yesterday's games was banned away. We'll have to see again today.
So, no real surprises here. Braum taken away from Hybrid. It is far and away his best champion. Out of the 13 games that G2 have played, Hybrid has played 8 of them on Braum with a 7-1 record, hence the reason it's gone. Corki and Gangplank round out Origen's bans with Barley and Youngbuck on your screens. And it is Lulu plus Alistair and 1 remaining for G2.
And these are 2 bans from G2 that have been very good for Origen when you look at how Origen want to play. Lulu and Alistair have both been very good at protecting Zven. A lot of their compositions have been built around Zven and how he is going to be able to carry later into the game. So no Lulu, no Alistair to either dive or protect from dives as well. Means it could be tricky for G2. The Nidalee was left open, and lo and behold, Kog'Maw gets through as well.
Yeah, let's see who's going to be brave enough to pick it up. Very quick bans, no real surprise with Nidalee still available, insta-locked for OG. The next maybe high priority pick is that Lucian, which Emperor will get his hands on, and it denies that from Zven. So the 80 carry pool has been hit, but there's the Kog'Maw you were talking about.
And this is something I've been expecting from G2. I was actually expecting it yesterday as well. The fact they're on red side probably makes it a little bit easier in their minds is leave the Kog'Maw available and now draft a composition to take the Kog'Maw down. I'm expecting something like a Gragas coming out of the jungle and then perhaps a tank from the top lane, even a Malphite. And what that does is give you a lot of dive potential. If you can hit the Kog'Maw fairly early and often when he's only on 1 or even the half the components of the Guinsoo's Rageblade, you can take out that Kog'Maw and end the game before he ever gets rolling.
Gragas Poppy, if I were G2. We've seen Kikis' Poppy several times in the past, and I think it's something he's shown up on better than the Malphite, and we saw it used exceptionally well in Challenger, the tools to get that stationary Kog'Maw.
And there's going to be a lot of people saying, yes, but last week we saw the same kind of compositions here. We saw people trying to shut down Kog'Maw, and I absolutely agree with you, we did. But I think with an extra week's play, teams are either going to completely ban out Kog'Maw or have this completely locked down when it comes to how they're going to play the game and their composition, putting a lot of focus on that bottom lane pick. All
right, there we go. The lock-in for Kikis will be Fiora up in the top lane. He's only played it once before. It was, in fact, a loss. And we need to see how he's going to handle himself. Maybe play the split push game, never stand in front of Kog'Maw, maybe that's how you could play it.
Well, the other thing is if you can get in on the flank now, Origen have to pick up something that can deal with the Fiora, because if Fiora ever gets through to the backline, thus far it's only the Nautilus that can actually peel her off the Kog'Maw. Kog can't really afford to stand there and attack her Fiora because she then just runs around it with the Vitals, heals up some of the damage that he's doing, and should be able to burst him down. It's a lot of theoretical late game flank potential from G2, but I'm expecting them to want to shut this game down earlier with that split push from Fiora.
All right, so shutting it down early, that's the name of the game. Nautilus we were expecting in maybe that solo lane, but now I'm expecting that Nautilus support. All of the peel from Mithy, Quinn up top for Soaz, and Origen have got themselves somewhat of an answer into that Fiora the blind. We have seen it impactful in the past.
Well, in this kind of setup, the Quinn is just going to follow the Fiora around the map. You know you can get to the lanes faster. You know you can put enough of pressure there to halt some of the split push now. So while it doesn't completely shut down the Fiora in this setup, it is an answer to that side lane pressure. Also now gives Origen a little bit more when it comes to damage, because they're not only relying on the Kog'Maw. They do have the Orianna for the team fights. They now have the Quinn as well for those kind of small skirmishes that Quinn likes to take.
And I also think it's important to note that PowerOfEvil, one of his signature champions was Orianna. He actually got a pentakill with it last year, with a smite build no less. And it was actually banned against OG yesterday by Splice. So maybe PoE's been using that solo queue and scrims to great effect. The last champion lock-in here for G2 is another champion that can potentially dive the backline with the Claw of Doom. Also has some wave clear and single target CC. So for G2, they've got a lot of tools to catch Kog, but Origen also have additional threats outside of just that Kog'Maw.
The only thing here is if PowerOfEvil goes Cleanse, which would be fairly optimal against the Lissandra, you don't want to get locked down too often. it does now reduce the ability of Origen actually playing on 3 waves, because you've got 2 teleports on the side of G2, means they can play across the entire map, or play the 4-1 and just have 2 teleports available at all times. Wherever Soaz pushes out, you move in, clear the wave, teleport back, and you still have somebody else with the TP available. So G2 have drafted a composition to take care of this Kog'Maw. We saw this almost exact kind of thing fail against Fnatic, and they ended up losing that game.
Oh, high pressure situation for these teams. G2 and Origen coaches are about to shake hands, about to do battle. The draft is done. It's time for Origen to fight for their spot in the playoffs.
Just run. Just keep running. Finish the game. 3 minutes right now. We do it. I'm moving. I'm coming. I got it. Fine. Nice. Push mid.
G2 eSports are already in the playoffs, and Origen are fighting for their chance to prove their worth, trying to turn everybody's opinion around and show that they deserve to be there.
Well, give us your opinion as well. Head on Twitter, hashtag G2win, hashtag OGwin. Let's see who's going to pick up this victory. Can Origen get some momentum heading into IEM?
Well, that is a very big question, and something that OG will answer shortly. As we load up onto the Rift, we've got 2 team compositions that are potentially going to be very explosive. There's a lot of damage on both sides. Pretty good engage on both sides as well. So if somebody gets ahead, in theory, the team's composition will then have the tools to continue pressing that advantage with the map power that Fiora and Quinn can offer.
There is one thing that can, however, put G2 on the back burner, and that is amazing on this Nidalee. We've heard a lot of talk about how good Nidalee is at clearing the jungle early, moving through your own, and then counter-jungling the enemy. If Trick gets put behind in the jungle matchup, his influence on this bottom lane, onto Zven, kind of narrows down throughout the game. You're then waiting to try and find Zven in skirmish situations where you can pop the ult and kill him before he ever gets rolling, but that is difficult. This Nidalee-Gragas matchup, if Nidalee finds the Gragas very early on, if it's a 1v1, a 2v2, that's the kind of situation that a Gragas doesn't deal with too well. So there are options available for Origen just to hold themselves as they get through this game.
For Origen, we're going to see a lane swap set up. Zven and Mithy going to clear out the Gromp up top, which is something that we've seen multiple times, not only with Kog'Maw compositions, but especially yesterday. Fairly standard PvE almost in terms of the lane swap, but Soaz is doing something a little different. He's actually pushing this wave out, not holding hands with Amazing, so a little bit of early XP on his side.
Yeah, and Soaz feels confident here just to be able to absorb some of that experience here. It now gives Trick a lot more, it now gives Amazing a lot more options out of the jungle here. He gets a little bit more experience coming from the camp, and that may be able to get into the game earlier.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything too exciting from the Keystone Masteries. Good to see a wider variety. The days of Thunderlords ago have now been relegated to the past. G2 gonna find an early little bit of pressure onto PerkZ. PerkZ will get vaulted on, but easily makes it out with that Glacial Path.
Yeah, Soaz was trying to get that mini interrupt just as the as Lissandra was about to take the claw. Of course, if you interrupt her, not able to complete that, but it is a very small timing window. You've got to hit it right at that second that she wants to take it. But G2 right now, they have really been playing with fairly little vision to begin with. There were defensive starts from both teams set up wards throughout the river. So Trick is being fairly passive throughout his own jungle, not really going into the enemy jungle, obviously too early on. They also now pretty much have a read that Origen started on their bottom side, so Trick doesn't actually have anything to counter jungle now. It's Amazing is in a fairly similar situation. It's only the Krugs on the top side that Amazing can go and take away.
Yeah, we'll make his way up there shortly. Both teams hammering on that outer turret. OG about to take this one down. And as we catch a glimpse of G2, truthfully not very far behind. So as far as my eye can see, tempo is equal. And it will be Soaz that is gifted the goal, equalized by Kikis down bottom. And the duo is most likely just going to swap out. So standard aplenty. Very early cull picked up here for Zven. We're seeing it just a little bit more.
Both AD carries as well. And this is something that AD carries in general in farm situations have been doing a lot more recently. The reason is if you can't really afford a big component when you back the first time, then it's actually a pretty decent item. You just sit on it until the 100 farm comes out, you end up getting the gold at the end of it, and it boosts your later spikes when it comes to the actual items you're picking up. If you're not getting pressured in the early game, it's fine to do. It is not a good starting item, though. If you end up in a situation where you have to trade against somebody, you don't have the combat stats from the health that a Doran's Blade would give you.
So, investment, ladies and gentlemen. Save money, come back to help you later in life. And that's what both of these teams are looking to do. Amazing was spotted out by pretty good wards there by G2, as our observers highlighted. So a little bit more information on the side of G2 Esports. And both squads resetting and pushing down the next outer turret. So, you know, this is one of these things you always want to ask, like, should G2 have tried to figure out where Zven and Mithy were going? Is it even worth it? Do you want to give a Kog'Maw, a Cull, and 2 towers?
Well, the biggest problem is it's so difficult to force a 2 versus 2 lane now. You basically have to roll a dice and lock yourself into a 2v2 scenario, into like your 2v2 being top lane, and hope there's a swap. There's so very little way of actually getting definitive information before the lanes are actually set that you're the one that has to make the guaranteed play. We've seen unicorns do it by hiding their members topside and anticipating the lane swap. Without doing it like that, it's almost impossible to know that you're going into a 2 versus 2. So that is one of the issues right now with the lane swaps. That brings this meta where you have this tower push, the phase 1 completes, now we're at the end of phase 2 completing where you've traded the objectives both sides of the map. The problem is you can't really defer from this too easily.
Fair enough. In terms of the differences in objectives, OG will get their first dragon in about 6 minutes, whereas G2, they secured a Rift Herald. There's nobody around to really punish Amazing and Mithy. This is going very, very low and very slow. Actually, dragon,
it's going to be
that got me a little racy there.
Yeah, Amazing had smite, so once it hits that 700 mark, it's just a couple of autos off and then you smite it down. So there was the option there for Trick if he was that little bit faster coming out of the base to get there, but you can see how tempered this game is going to be. It's already fairly slow paced, but the wards from both sides that just come off your screen, 4 on the side of G2 are this early. But you know, G2, they may have the wards, but they don't seem to have quite as much support as we're used to.
No, they don't. And you know, the fans at home, they weren't listening to your motto. The standing tells a story and we have 2. I mean, that wasn't a great Yamato.
I was going to say, that was close to like Sean Connery a little bit.
Yeah, that was a bit more like bad guy in James Bond film. But, you know, it is somewhat of a fact. It's at 10-3 record for G2. This is the 7-6 for OG, but a tempered, slower pace to the opening game, which both teams did yesterday.
Yep.
So not overly surprised, and it is also a symptom of both the lane swap, the team composition.
Yes. Yeah, the team comps, I think, is one of the biggest things. Kog'Maw on one side means Origen do not want to fight. They also want to get the Quinn into the game to be able to split push. And it's the same for G2. They need the early towers down. Next, they need to pressure the mid tower, and that opens their composition up. That's when they can start playing on multiple lanes. It's not something you can realistically do from minute 1 in a game and go, okay, well, we're just going to push towers in our 1-3-1 setup. You've got to get the early ones down.
Yeah, get those initial item timings before you can make the next move. Soaz may find himself caught between an Ice Queen and a Blade Master. PerkZ flashes over the wall, has access to the tomb, locks down Soaz. There's support coming from Amazing, but it is simply too late.
Too easy for PerkZ to roam to the top side. Soaz was trying to maneuver around. They knew it was coming. Origen were actually pinging through the jungle. Amazing was giving the on-the-way pings. Problem is, Quinn in that situation pushed up without a tower. So was the Fiora, but it was G2 that were pushing faster and got to the lane first.
Now for Kikis, this is a big deal. Not only is he on a champion that wants to be enabled, wants to become activated earlier, but he's also shown up better on tank top laners. So having that early advantage against his opposite number, he's only played Fiora once, it was a loss. And I feel he's looked better on a different class of champion. There's going to be some pressure on him to, you know, use this momentum.
Yeah, the thing for Kikis though is there is a fairly clear game plan in this game for him, is split push, and in the event that a Kog'Maw becomes relevant in this game, your one task is flank him, get on him, and take him down. It's more easy said than done. Yeah. But you know, for Kikis, that's the only two things he has to be thinking about in this game. There's no other real thing, so it's just ward up and make sure you can get in position in time. Mithy may be forced to flash here.
Body slam finds Mithy. The Flay does too. Hybrid lines up the death sentence, but gets the flash. So Mithy, no summoner. Rinse and repeat from G2 might be in order. But again, 10 minutes in, the slower pace we saw from them yesterday, less so today. And once we break out of that lane swap, it's G2 that make the first proactive positive moves.
And the funny thing about today was G2 actually got their first blood around about or a more similar time to their normal average. Yeah. Normal average is 6 minutes. That was just before 8 minutes in this game. Whereas you compare it to yesterday, 19 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock for their first blood. So they're trying to be a little bit more active on the map than they were yesterday. That ward did get spotted. Now Kikis is spotted on a pink ward, so they definitely know he's there. But still, it is quite tempting.
It really is. The blind comes out. Soaz is really winning this trade. Kikis committed a lot of time into the ward clear. We'll have some backup from PerkZ, and the tomb is available. Look at the vision that has been fought for. That was what led to Kikis' damage. And if you look at the minimap, there's a number of wards that G2 have left behind in the bottom quadrant of the jungle. All of that tension has backed away. Oopsie. PerkZ and hybrid. Yep. Had to go back in.
Another oopsie was Kikis badly mistiming his riposte. He riposted early because he was looking to riposte the vault and return the CC there, but really weird. He just used it. Maybe, I don't think he actually had the vision, so was trying to just blindly do it, but just a rough timing for Kikis. Kind of gives Soaz. That one's better. He saw the spear coming, though. That one's still a lot easier to do.
Still counts. But yeah, I actually saw Kikis fire that riposte off a tad early in the laning phase as well. Yeah. Maybe trying to predict that blinding assault.
I mean, it is difficult to predict the velocity of an unladen swallow.
African swallow or European swallow?
Depends what server you're on.
Rift Herald picked up this time by Origen. As Trick and Hybrid continue their counter-jungling ways. Trick has actually moved into the enemy jungle to place some wards, I think 3-4 times already, enabling Emperor to maintain that split push. He's got a small CS advantage. Cull is about 10 CS away from being completed, and there's pressure on turrets.
G2 are prioritizing the turret rather than an overextended Zven in the top lane. This would be an opportunity. If they weren't so set on getting this turret, they will get this. They could have gone top. I think this is the better option.
Soaz is in trouble. Culling comes down. A flash forward from Emperor. Soaz gets away from the blinding light, piercing light rather. With a double tap from Emperor. That's a second kill for G2.
And this is just a really weird setup here. OG prioritizing farm on to Zven. They put him topside, overextend, which doesn't get punished in this situation, but the punish comes on the bottom side. Soaz tries to defend the turret, goes in when it's already dying in a 3 versus 2. Really weird from Origen. I feel like in that situation, Soaz may have been more beneficial pushing up on the top side with the warding that they've got and have Zven down in the bottom side, because you're never going to win this fight. You just need to absorb the farm that's coming in here. And Emperor's going to take this every single day because he knows with the rest of his team here as backup, he's completely safe.
Zero threat. Once again, Soaz and Amazing holding hands, and they give up first blood. Yesterday was from a poorly timed dive. This time, maybe sticking around longer than they should have.
And it's just really weird because like a Kog'Maw doesn't have the kind of potential to sit in that lane and look to push a tower on his own in topside. There's no real danger of actually stopping what Zven is doing top. So it's a very easy decision for G2 to take that tower and then take the kills from it. Very strange from Origen, but you can see where their priorities lie. Right now, it is the weak point for Zven. He is on the components of the Rage Blade. This is where you look at it and it's like Blasting Wand, Pickaxe. What's this actually doing for me? Not a whole lot. Yeah. But G2 are accelerating the game through objectives.
Yeah, and you contrast that to all of the items on G2. Ravenous Hydra completed, Runic Echoes, Abyssal Scepter, Essence Reaver. So every champion on the side of G2, maybe barring Hybrid, has got their first item timing spike. So they're looking for some action. Maybe they have found it. PerkZ teleports in. Soaz has no flash available, and this will be another easy kill.
I don't know what OG are doing here on their side lanes. They are playing really riskily and too far up. They're taking engages where they haven't really got the vision control. Just a very strange set of circumstances. And one thing I want to talk about very briefly is the itemization again. So Zven finished his cull. The 100 minions were gone. Went back to base, bought 2 daggers, has a Doran's blade in his inventory, and keeps the cull. Cull, for its item efficiency now after the payout has gone, is not exactly as efficient as if you were maybe to sell the cull and the Doran's blade and get the like a Zeal item at this point, or the Hurricane.
Recurve
Sorry,
bow.
the Recurve bow. That's what I was looking for. Just a weird one.
Yeah.
Weird to sit on that cull. At least you can get a pink one because he's already paid out.
That's something that disappointed Dad Deficio would like to see. But along with the rest of the analysts, both Sheep and Yamato Cannon had specifically called out Origen's early game, specifically called out the decision-making and the prioritization of where they find themselves. And Origen are down 3 kills, down a tower, and down 2,000 gold. But their composition has a very large amount of headroom, so they're always going to scale very well. Look, Zven is just allowed to sit still. Yeah, Shockwave comes up and pulls Trick backwards as Finn gets bounced into the middle of the team. 2 members of Origen are down before anybody can react. Soaz finally starts to teleport. He wants to close this one out. We'll see if he can chase anyone down for exit kills. Comes flying in on Valor, blinds up PerkZ, continues to chase. The tomb is going to be available very soon, but not soon enough. PerkZ goes down. They turn it back around and the crowd erupts with life. Soaz has got one on the board. It's amazing. Looks to get himself a double kill. And they turned that fight on its head.
This actually ended up way better for Origen than it should have. When we get the replay, you'll see just how late Soaz actually comes to the fight. I want to double check his health and mana perhaps before he TP'd in, but comes up big time for Origen. G2, a little bit of a messy fight to start that one off. Soaz comes in to clean it up. Looks like perhaps the same as yesterday, where the early game is a bit rough for Soaz, but he can start to take over. There was a fair amount of damage that came out from PowerOfEvil in this fight as well, but G2 may be overcommitting there.
Yeah, definitely the case, and all of a sudden, with the outer turret falling in the mid lane, Origen have the gold lead. So Zven, he plants himself down and starts spitting for days.
Yeah, at this point, I'm trying to look, Hybrid just took a lot of damage from nowhere. And then from there, it was amazing coming in from the side, actually blows up Trick in the beginning of this fight. That's a big Acathian surprise hit Kikis, so he was forced away from this. Okay, so Soaz recalled to make sure he had health and mana to teleport into the fight, which actually ended up okay because he came in his ult form, so he got to the fight very quickly. So this was just G2 not really respecting Amazing's damage in this fight, and it turns out that if you do that, you end up losing the fight.
This is exactly what you'd mentioned in Picks and Bans, Stress, how Nidalee has these abilities in the early stages of the game and has the ability to, you know, skirt on the outside, get the damage down. Amazing played that very, very well. And he's now got Rod of Ages stacking on both PoE and Amazing.
But now you have to question the pick and ban decisions from G2, because we've spoken a lot about how if you have a Kog'Maw, you have to play almost a flawless game. If at any point you give away a team fight or objectives that you really shouldn't, that give the pace of the game over to your opponents when they're playing with Kog'Maw, the Kog'Maw has the time to get to his second item, and I wonder if that fight right there is going to be the death knell for G2. It's very early on to say that the game is over, because I don't feel like it is, but that mistake elongates the game and gives Zven the time to get himself to 2 items.
Oh, yes, it does. It also gave PowerOfEvil a Morellonomicon. She's going to be using great efficiency. Trick has already used Explosive Cast to try delay G2. G2 are now in trouble, rather Origen. Origen are going to run down Emperor. Defensive flash. Have G2 got enough time to take a tower? If they can trade at least one, there's pressure on some of the other lanes, because look at Kikis. Barley clapping as Origen get a kill, but what is the cost of that kill on Emperor?
Yeah, what's the turnaround? But look at Mithy coming down the river, looking for the flank here on G2. G2 taking this very slowly. Will get it from the minions alone.
Ooh, that was close, and they get the tower.
They do get the tower. Bit of a funny situation top there. Emperor thought he was playing dodgeball with PowerOfEvil there, dodging around his Qs, but in comes Laser, Blazer, and the rest of Globo Gym and take him down, as Emperor was like, this is not fair at this point.
1v4, not fair, bro. Not fair at all. Emperor still sitting on that cull, has completed the static shiv. Zven got the Hurricane.
He's still got Cull.
Hurricane and Rage Blade.
Both of them still have Cull. Sell Cull, buy Pink Wards.
Well,
Invest in pink wards. They're good in the market right now.
wards save lives and win games. They will picked up eventually. Hybrid will get cut down where he stands. Stays alive for a few more seconds. Manages to get away with his life. Emperor culls Mithy. And how on earth did Hybrid survive that?
Hybrid survived it because the rest of the team are too much of a threat for Origen to continue focusing the support. No reason for them to all in on that. And then PowerOfEvil tries to throw out the shockwave to tie up G2 as they stood on top of each other. But it looked like the Zhonya's actually... No, it was just an untargetable there at that point. I was a little bit mistaken, but that shockwave just didn't really hit the targets that it needed to.
Long-range attacks from G2 means they get their 6th kill of the game. There might be some contest on this Dragon. G2 sniffing around. Teleport's available for Kikis, but Dragon goes down far too quickly. I was just anticipating a fight that sadly was never to be.
Yeah, it's...
Curse of play-by-play.
You always see the fights coming.
Yep, that's it. 20 seconds on the clock. Teleport comes out. Kikis is looking, rather PerkZ is looking for Zven. There is another teleport from Kikis. He is joining, but I can't quite see where.
It's in the jungle, right behind Quinn.
And now Mithy forced to flash. Kikis will find a Vital, find a second Vital. Robust comes out. A double body slam into the cast backwards. Another culling this time takes out Soaz. He has to fly all the way home. G2 get 2 kills for their 2 teleports.
A lot committed by G2, but that's exactly what they need at this point. Is if you can't quite get the Kog'Maw, if everybody else is dead around him and the rest of your team is alive, he can't afford to stand and deal damage and has to continue to run back. Zven tried to turn the aggression on, was forced to use both summoners because of it, and OG are in a very bad situation off that.
Yeah, they certainly are. G2 arrest control back. Yesterday, a QSS was the undoing of Splice when they ran Lissandra, and the reason for that, Soaz just picked up a QSS now. So here's a replay of this fight, Stress.
Yeah, this was the early commit by PerkZ. You can see on the top side where Fiora is about to arrive. Has to deal with Quinn on the way in, though, and Mithy here just peeling around. But Kikis is like, I have the damage to deal with this. We don't need to go for Zven anymore. Let's just take out the other targets and then continue to push. They get the summoners. Look at Zven. He's trying to stutter step back and forth, but it's such minimal damage compared to when a Kog'Maw is allowed to stand there and just use his W and not have to move at all.
That's the ideal situation. Made significantly harder when you got to deal with Gragas, Fiora, Lissandra. And if any of them fail to get in, Hybrid can maybe deliver somebody. So G2 still marginally in the lead. Continue to see those items escalating. Hourglass now complete for PerkZ, Spirit Visage for Trick, Black Cleaver for Kikis. And we're starting to hit the 2-3 item marks. Look at this, 2 very early QSSs on the side of Origen.
It's exactly what they need, though, is they need Zven to be able to get out of the fights and stay relevant. If he gets blown up by PerkZ instantly, this whole composition falls apart from Origen. Then it's all on PowerOfEvil, is what can he do with the Orianna, which, you know, we've seen him have pentakills on Orianna, but is it enough against the likes of a Lissandra, a Gragas, a Fiora, these champions that can very easily disrupt what an Orianna wants to do?
PowerOfEvil, the pressure is on in those team fights, especially if G2 group. But luckily for OG, Soaz seems to be having a pretty decent time in that lane. We just saw him trading with Kikis. Has decided to peel backwards, and there's some, again, every time you look at this minimap, there's some deep wards in OG's jungle. G2 have done a pretty good job of placing.
At this point, though, OG have done a similar thing. Is they've put at least the kind of medium wards, I would call them. They're not deep far into the jungle, but they're just around the entrances here of G2's jungle, and it makes it difficult for G2 to look for anything like a Baron, because they've got blue trinkets and the wards that are already set up. And you can see that G2 aren't really looking for a Baron yet. They're pushing out bottom side with Kikis, drawing Soaz down, but he's got teleport. He should be able to get out of there all right. So we're in a bit of a dance situation here, just with the vision control. Nobody's going to commit to this Baron, and if they do, they're going to get stopped incredibly quickly.
Yeah. Emperor was pushing out the top lane before he was forced to back away. Aegis of the Legion now completed for Hybrid, so he's starting to get a little beefier. And Zven, at 23 minutes, is even on CS with Emperor.
Here comes the teleport.
Let's see who he targets. Gonna go forward. Claws out, roots, PowerOfEvil. The tomb instantly cleansed, and the barrel after the flash means PowerOfEvil gets away with his life. G2, they whiffed that one.
They whiffed that one, but it was a good claw, actually, from PerkZ. Had PowerOfEvil read completely, there was no other way for him to go but run right into where PerkZ was going to sit, so they trade both summoners mid lane for both summoners mid lane. And ultimately, not a massive amount gained from that. Soaz was buying himself a little bit more time in the bottom side, farming up, but now he's got to deal with Kikis, who wants to go aggressive.
QSS has already been used. Kikis decides to peel away. Grand Challenge is timed out, and Soaz has jumped on Valor's back, I believe. Actually, no, decides to push the wave back out. QSS very useful at getting rid of the challenge, so that not going to give that additional HP. Emperor actually sidesteps into the spear after amazing smote it down. Is that the correct term?
I don't know. Grammar isn't my strong point. I guess you can't dodge a wrench either, or traffic. But G2 right now seem to be dodging the issue, which is Zven is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The longer this game goes on, he will be able to deal with a lot of what G2 have to offer. He has the QSS we've already alluded to. You can see already Mithy is opting towards you know, the Aegis way. Could be looking at Locket, could be looking at Banner. But there is a lot of options for Origen the longer this game goes on, and I feel like they're kind of being given a way back into this game very quickly by G2. That earlier fight really has slowed down what G2 have tried to do.
Definitely the case. G2 will be kicking themselves when they review some of the team fight decisions. Maybe a little too eager to play aggressive, despite what I thought was pretty good vision in the early stages of the game. Mithy, dredge line, just gently sidestepped by PerkZ, who's Trick and Hybrid will back Emperor up in this top lane. Emperor was actually pushing the top for a while. Now G2 trying to set up some pressure on this top inner turret stress.
Yeah, they're trying to set up pressure, but it's going to take a while. Look at Origen actually moving mid lane, looking to try and put the same kind of focus back onto the middle inner tower. It's always more beneficial for jungle control with the mid towers being down. At this point, G2 want to push top. Origen actually didn't commit to it. They're committing to Dragon on the bottom side.
Dragon number 3 for Origen. There's waves pushing into the inhibitor turrets against OG, and they're going to be late to this one. I believe the bottom wave is slowly
amazing
by death sentence. The body slam too. He pounces and flashes away, but he can't put enough distance to stay alive. And with amazing going down, there's no one to stop G2 wrecking the base. The inhibitor turret is down. Blinding Assault comes out. The inhibitor down to half HP. The shockwave finds nobody as Hybrid flashes away to safety.
But for now, it's enough. Look at PerkZ pushing the middle lane in as well. G2 are trying to take the shortcut. You can't take that route at this point. You don't have the control over those paths between the lanes. And what that means is it slows down G2's secondary push. But man, OG making a big timing error there. Thought that Zven could get that Dragon and recall in time, but they had enough vision on the remaining members of Origen that G2 could just push that tower.
And multiple times this game, trying to defend that tower's not worked out.
Don't do it.
Ooh, is this the B word?
Don't do it. Okay, good.
5,000 gold down. An exposed inhibitor, and G2 are showing they can play the side lanes relatively well. This was the death sentence that really started everything.
Yeah, it was. Death sentence into the follow-up. Amazing's not going to survive that one too often at all. Even got the teleport out of Kikis. Maybe not the most necessary TP, but you know, they got the kill and looking to follow up. Really interesting. Okay, G2 is starting this. There are 2 blue trinkets available, which means they're about to stop Baron very quickly.
And there is a teleport.
There's the first blue trinket.
Needs to vision.
This isn't dying fast enough.
Baron's down to 5,000. Teleports coming in just behind. PerkZ finds PoE. Shockwave will not connect because of Repulse. Mithy is now on the back line. And PowerOfEvil is done. I would love to get a slow-mo to double-check that. PerkZ is now in somewhat of a trouble. Self-cast. He has an Hourglass available too, and Zven gets jumped on. Kikis wants to squash the bug under his boot, but he'll take down Mithy first. Zven continues to try and kite back before he's bounced by the barrel. That's a double kill now. They chase down Amazing. Origen get aced.
A great set of team fights there from G2. The way they balanced a lot of their abilities was exactly what they needed. The fact that Trick held his ultimate for so long in that fight just to pop Zven as the fight went longer and longer. And a key thing you cannot overlook with a Lissandra on the map is the amount of time that she soaks up from somebody like Zven, where she goes in, instantly becomes the target from the AD carry, ults herself, you can't damage her. Zhonya's, you can't damage her. And by that point, the W is about to run out. Origen aren't done yet.
No, they're not, but the inhibitor will be. 1 or 2 more autos is all it needs. Oh! Shockwave secures a triple kill. As Hybrid manages to make it away, maybe it was a 3-man quadra kill for PowerOfEvil, and they defend their top inhib.
Origen punishing the greedy G2, stacking. Is it going to be Baron time for Origen? Is this the same kind of situation that G2 were in against Fnatic, where it's one play, one misplay, turns the game around for them and they lose a game that they had almost certainly won?
30-second death time is on the side of G2. Trick, the only man standing with Smite and Explosive Cast available.
He's got the level advantage here.
Let's find out. Baron down to 4,500, rolls the barrel into OG. Soaz and PoE trying to disrupt. Trick needs to use the burst and the Smite for the kill. He's got the shutdown as a PowerOfEvil. He saves his own life, while Amazing secures Baron. And Stress, we've got a game on our hands.
We have at this point, man. Origen committing 2 people to Trick, ensuring that there's absolutely no way he can get into the Baron to steal. This was the beginning of the fight. There was the riposte, as you alluded to, from Kikis, preventing that shockwave. Even PerkZ managed to move out of the way of that, so a big ult didn't hit the mark here. G2 kite back up to the Baron. At this point, there is a ward. You can see it now being swept out, but it's PerkZ. They feel like he's too tasty a target to deal with. And Zven, look at this. The amount of time PerkZ is soaking up here. Zven's trying to put damage on Kikis and PerkZ as 2 targets, but they sidestep, make sure they're not in hurricane radius from each other, and it means Zven has to commit to 1, at which point 3 people commit to him, and that is the team fight done for G2.
Right, and this was the G2 maybe overstep. Look, somewhat split focus. They turn their attention to Mithy. Emperor then tries to catch PoE.
The stack
1,
here,
2,
Kikis
3.
moves. Oh, that's
3-man
so
shockwave,
painful.
and Hybrid just stepped out of it.
Oh, that's so painful. Emperor dashed in, Kikis dashed in, and that was a... That's like a quadra kill that is given to PowerOfEvil. All he had to do was just press R and everybody somehow magnetized into...
The amount of damage is on your screen right now. In that shockwave fight, 4,491. That is a 4,491 elo shockwave if ever I've seen one. And may have just given OG another breath of life. The problem is, every time OG have got a breath of life, it is after being pummeled in the head by G2. It's G2 landing the first punch, and OG trying to swing back. They need to make this Baron count.
Yeah, they do. I was trying to remember the quote that someone used yesterday about being punched in the face. Everybody thinks they got a game plan, and whatever that quote is, but seems like OG are just taking the Homer Simpson approach and just taking as many punches to the face as possible until the opponent just tires themselves out and G2 will start making mistakes, because that's what's happening in this setup, is G2 are making mistakes here. They have Emperor being 8-3-2, should have enough damage to tear through everything, but it's just these missteps. Dashing into the shockwave, losing all of your health. Origen want to push with this Baron right now. They're playing all in one lane though. This isn't maximizing their composition.
Well, they're trying to stop those supers maybe. Trying to push the wave out, very cleverly backing away. Don't want to run the risk of losing somebody important. The culling really somewhat whiffs, only burns through the shield there of Mithy, and now Origen, they've got themselves grouped up, placing the balls and zoning. And G2, remember, 2 teleports available. Wave is pushing towards OG in the bottom lane, and I think towards G2 in the top lane. Inner turret for Dragon and the dot on towers. Probably worth, I think.
So this is slowing Origen from potentially getting a 5th Dragon. They're only on 3 right now. Teleport comes in to defend from PerkZ.
The claw.
He goes in!
Through flash route! PerkZ stuns 3 members of OG. Let's go Golden, and Hourglass is up. All of a sudden, Origen are split up. Soaz is running for his life, may take Hybrid with him, and it's G2 that are split up on the fight.
They've
Trick
got to get
gets the
Zven.
body slap. They've taken Soaz down. Kikis and Emperor, they're peeling, they're running, they're trying to stay away from the Caterpillar as G2 have bought enough time. They got Soaz down, they've thwarted the Baron push, and you can see everybody backstage watching the game. It is balancing on a knife edge.
Oh, Emperor nearly went in touching range. Does he Ardent blaze the bush? He's got to know
no,
that.
no.
He cullings.
That is such a good call. Emperor interrupts. Well,
Well,
it fizzles.
The thing is, he let Amazing recall at that point, so they have the numbers advantage. They just don't know it. They weren't sure that Amazing recalled here. The numbers were in favor of G2.
And now Hybrid, the shockwave used just to take him down, but he's got the box out. Zven will get slowed by the barrel roll and continues to kite and run away. Ultimates will be available for Trick and PerkZ very shortly. Mithy may give his life here. Kikis is jumping onto Amazing, but he's got to be careful. 3 members of Origen sitting in front of him. The Glacial Path not followed through as PerkZ is very low on HP. And all of a sudden, we're still not done, Stress. Teleport this time from Soaz.
And this is the counter engage because they just saw how many ultimates we use. Soaz goes on Emperor.
Oh, the crit!
Oh!
Soaz is giggling on the player cam, and so is the audience. Kikis flashes away to save his life. Soaz, you donated a kill, my friend. Last time I saw a top laner do that, it was in Challenger.
Oh, he thought that the blind was going to be enough like that. It was just not enough in this situation. The way he goes in, it's a long way in the future from here. This was PerkZ. Very aggressive from PerkZ here to go in like this. He catches the important members. Look at how much damage Zven takes right here, but it's the QSS into instantly moving back away out of this fight. From here, look at the target selection. G2, 2 people are on Soaz. Hybrid somehow manages to stay alive for about the 3rd or 4th time this game. The problem is G2 in this situation do not have enough to get onto Zven. He can just back away for as long as he wants here, and now we have this prolonged period where G2 knew where Origen were, but couldn't get to him. And then they had the numbers advantage. But this is a really weird back and forth set of fights here that, you know, they're not very clean overall.
Oh, definitely not. Emperor getting those critical hits really chunked down Soaz. I didn't actually see if the Banshee's Veil maybe block that blinding assault or not. We'll have to keep a close eye as these next team fights break out. But with 35 minutes in, the 6,000 gold difference, I think, is even irrelevant at this stage when you consider how powerful Zven can be if he's allowed to sit in a place and attack. PerkZ was waiting on the fountain for a few seconds, and he has teleport available, but no TP play just yet.
And no TP available for Origen either. They know that they can play on 3 lanes. They haven't been choosing to do so pretty much for the last 20 minutes of this game. They've been very stuck trying to just lock down Origen as they're running around the map, and that's kind of like flipping a coin of, are we going to win this game? It's not like, let's play our team composition. It's just, let's try and kill Zven. If we don't get him, we're going to lose.
Well, by this stage, if G2 commit everything onto a target and fail, as you mentioned, we've seen G2 losing games at this stage. Already this split. Already this game, both squads have overcommitted. G2, though, with teleports playing the side lanes. Look, both PerkZ and Kikis are shoving out top and bottom. A recall from PerkZ, get those speedy boots primed and ready for a potential Baron play. Maybe we're back onto Baron pressure here, Stress.
We are, but Kikis is the real pressure here. Being in the bottom lane was looking to try and push up to that inhibitor tower. It drew Soaz down, no teleport available. It means if G2 commit in the next 5 or 6 seconds here, they may be able to get a fight started before Soaz can cross it. He will be able to do that very quickly with Quinn, and that window is starting to close as Kikis, as soon as he drops off from that bottom side, Soaz in his mind is like, they're gonna go, and now
the call.
Here comes the call.
Oh, let's see, can they find Zven? They Death Sentence! Hybrid follows it with a flash, and Death Sentence. Zven is pulled into the middle of the team and taken out. G2 may have just won the game.
Big shockwave.
PowerOfEvil gets a shockwave and takes down PerkZ and Hybrid. It's not done yet. Kikis will find Amazing with the help of Emperor. A double kill for Kikis. 2 members of OG remaining. There's some wave clear here. Can they pull off a miracle play? Focused faces on the side of G2.
It's got to be double in here, but then go for the Baron at this point. There's no smite available for 45 seconds. Soaz and PowerOfEvil have just got to try and deter this Baron for as long as possible. Both of them will die to Emperor in a prolonged little skirmish where Emperor can get damage off. So now they have to catch them with split decision-making on this Baron. Their Baron clear isn't the fastest here, but with not a lot of people around, I say not the fastest, it's going down pretty quickly at this
Fiora
point.
Lucian at 37 minutes?
Yeah, you're right. I was looking at it like 3 people, maybe not so good. That's pretty quick.
Shockwave's up. Will it get stolen? PowerOfEvil fires the trigger, and it is secured by G2. Good smite hands from Trick. Soaz and PowerOfEvil decide not to go in, and that may be the final nail in the coffin. Super minions, a 3-minute timer on Baron buff. and all of G2 have respawned.
Well, now you play with a 4-in-1 setup. Kikis goes to the bottom lane, pushes it out. It's the only remaining inhibitor tower. And this is the unreliable CC landing on Zven, and that's what shouldn't be happening in this game. Because that forces Zven to commit all of his defensive resources to CC that is not going to hit him 100%. He has to be saving that for PerkZ, saving that for, you know, the lockdown that's going to come when a Fiora gets on top of him. So it's just a tough circumstance there for Zven to be hit by that hook.
Yep.
He had to try and dodge it somehow. His flash was already down.
Yeah, and when you got 5 members of G2 aiming for you, it's tough. But PowerOfEvil may have kept OG in the game at least for a few more minutes. Look again at that damage graph. I think that was another 3 or 4-man shockwave, and that may have single-handedly saved the Nexus for a few minutes. The problem is they now have to do it again. They now have to find the shockwave with no summoners on PowerOfEvil or Zven. No flashes on Soaz or Amazing. This is a tough, tough defense.
It's going to be more than a tough defense right now with the Baron up minions from G2. I'm surprised that they aren't... Oh, Kikis got caught, riposte.
He did get caught. The riposte blocked a lot of the damage, and Mithy's forced to flash away. Depth charge was used. The dredge line may have actually hurt him more than it helped.
They're just buying time now for the top and mid wave to push all the way in. Soaz is looking for a flank for their rewards there. It's buying time. Now they step up to the plate.
Oh, that tower does not have long for this world. He'll get chunked down. The Baron, empowered siege minion, gets that tower down. 1 or 2 more hits. Emperor's going to step forward, use the passive. Ooh, dredge line, so close to finding Emperor, but I think he just dashed away. As G2 are now looking at the 3rd inhibitor. Look at the minimap. Trick is trying to get that Baron buff onto the supers, let them push forward. So is an Amazing. They have to deal with it, which means the bottom inhibitor is exposed. Emperor will be taking this one down. Depth charge will be available from Mithy, his ultimate in a few seconds, and the shockwave is good, but Emperor is able to flash away. Mithy will be the first victim of the fight as PerkZ is running amok in the back line. He stays alive thanks to the tomb, still has an hourglass to go golden as Emperor finds one more. PowerOfEvil is forced to run with nothing left to do, and G2 pick up their 11th win, 12th win, and sit singly in first place. It's not a good week for my win moment, Stress.
It's a good week for G2 though right now. Not only do you lock a playoff spot, you take down one of the European representatives that are going to IEM. You can say, well, we'll see how that goes for you, but we've locked our wins in the books.
Gigantic smiles on the faces of G2. A hard-fought victory. Was correctly their 11th win. I overthought it.
It's all right, Trev. Don't worry.
It's really
never
not.
do maths on stream. Never do it.
You know, a lot to take away for both of these teams, PerkZ and Soaz, having a hug. And, you know, Soaz 1-8-1. Punished for overextending so many times this game. Then you have to sit back and say, was that major props to G2? Or was that a major mistake from Soaz, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. G2 made some pretty big errors in this game when it came to almost gifting the game back to Origen. Problem is, they just couldn't capitalize on it. Origen couldn't really catch it at that point. PowerOfEvil seemed to be the only player that was hell-bent on trying to carry Origen through this game. Amazing had a decent early game. You could see what Mithy was trying to do there, but G2 come out the win there.
What a contrast on expressions when you look at the players' faces. There were chances for Origen. There were opportunities to claw back control. But that man there, PerkZ, one more of those EU mids. He shows that even through QSSs, even through cleanses, he can make a Lissandra work in every single team fight.
Well, he set him up. Emperor knocked him down at the end of it, because every single fight Emperor was putting out so much damage, so much, just always getting in the mix. And you've got to say, Hybrid perhaps with the game-winning hook on that the mid fight. If you don't hook the Kog'Maw, he still has the QSS available, still has everything else to get himself away. From that, they take 2 inhibs and the game's done.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think individually, every single member of G2 played correctly. And then they made a few misplays and maybe trying to press the vision, maybe getting caught out by Origen here and there. But crucially, when those fights happened, the team fights we saw today was the G2 that we saw in the beginning of the split, where they were crisp, they were clear, they were very aggressive. It was later than expected, but it ended up working in their favor. I believe it did. So with that, we're going to head to the analyst desk to